Hi, I'm Randall, author of the blog Creative Schizophrenia on Healthy Place. I'm going to talk to you today about a topic that is somewhat sensitive and very emotional for me. At the age of 9, I was sexually abused by a family friend. This marked the beginning of my battle with mental illness, but it certainly wouldn't be the end of my journey. After I went through the ordeal, I began experiencing severe episodes of depression and anxiety and certain symptoms of post-traumatic stress. This persisted for years, and at times I was never suicidal as a child or adolescent, but at times I just wanted to cease to exist, and that's something that has persisted through to my current battle with schizophrenia. Now, I don't want it to sound all bad because others have been through things that are far worse than I have, and I'm actually glad that it happened to me instead of to another child, especially given the fact that I was able to help bring the perpetrator to justice and ensure that he can't continue to commit these acts. But overall, I endured things that no child should ever have to endure. But what troubles me now about this is how my history of child sexual abuse plays into my current diagnosis with schizophrenia, how the two are linked. And I've racked my brain for hours and tortured myself trying to figure out which symptom is caused from schizophrenia and which symptom is caused as a result of the child sexual abuse, and I've never come up with a good answer for it. And my therapist likes to call this mental gymnastics, which are not very helpful for me. So in working with my therapist and with my wife, they both recommended that instead of constantly racking my brain trying to figure these things out, instead I try to focus on things that I can control and on more positive elements. So doing things like focusing on taking my medications regularly and focusing on making my therapy as beneficial as possible, focusing on the positives that came out of what happened to me and on positive things that I have to look forward to. And that's really what's most important, instead of trying to figure out exactly what caused what. And overall, the most important thing for me is to never give up. I always get in the most trouble when I start to think, I'm just done, I can't keep going, I can't possibly take another step. And so that's really my message to anyone, no matter what they've gone through, is never give up.
Or not. Never giving up hope is also a thing you managed to say, and you've always got to push through it. No matter if you feel suicidal, you've got to go to the right place to go. You've got to never give up hope. It's a last thing we say. Our NAMI is like our NAMI rules or our NAMI themes or human rights, I would say, to my life. Deeply distressing or disturbing experiences of personal trauma, a death of a child, or a physical injury ruptures your diaphragm or caused by blunt trauma, any trauma, hurt, being bullied, words said to you. I believe everybody's had some trauma. Today we talk about what it is like to have schizoaffective disorder and what are some of the signs and what makes sense of the trauma that happened to me. I've always told you I've wanted to tell my story. Here is my story. When I was a young kid, I was always crazy about alarms. And I had a very hard time learning. But what I put to the alarms is a noise that I was scared of. And I'd like them to make go off. But every time they went off, I was scared. I was nervous. So I limited that to the noise. I don't like when people are even making sounds to fix things, such as a hammer. It makes me stressed. During my childhood, I was always asked a lot of questions and usually would like to have one friend as mainly. I'd like people to help them not have a major anxiety of social disorders. I would always have some panic attacks at the age of 13. Then at my school horizon, I didn't make a lot of friends, and the friends I did make would always leave and move on. And it was great for them to move on to a normal school, but it wasn't so great for me because I couldn't maybe do the work. I didn't think public schools in the end was a good idea because I couldn't do the work and there were a lot of bullies. Now I went to a school that maybe was not the best place for a person to go that may get bullied, which is Maplebrook School, a boarding school out of New York. It had some great times. It had some bad times. I soon figured out that at 17, it was very young to be out of state. And as you can imagine, there were consequences and positives to living in New York. I went to summer program before that boarding school, and I hated it. I think that started to tell me why I wanted to run away and go back home. But it didn't matter how far I wanted to get. I was nearly 2 hours from the airport, and there was no logical idea to leave the program. I always liked that we played sports. We built a camaraderie, but you'd build the brotherhood with your worst brother, along with your best brother, and that was okay. But your brother could do some trauma to that to you. The next thing we're going to go a very big word in schizoaffective that outlines in schizoaffective is trauma. A lot of kids were bullies to me. I got a black eye. I got punched in the face. I got knives thrown at me in school. I got a concussion to my head when I got a black eye being punched. I was so scared of the kid that I did not want to tell them I got hurt. The same kid that threw knives at me, the one kid I didn't want to tell on. The kids were such bullies. I got powder on my suits. I had a huge fight in the bathroom, my biggest fight ever. We had racist kids. Of course, the kid that was the most racist had a Confederate flag on his arm, and he was the biggest a-hole ever. I had a mentor that asked me weird questions, asked me to do sexual explicit things. Trauma happened in definition of some kind of trauma. In the end, this guy, it doesn't matter if he's right. It doesn't matter at all that it happened. But I wanted to share my story. And I want to go through the college story of next and talk about how I eventually experienced schizoaffective and where I eventually thought about it afterwards of where I got the psychotic thoughts. The psychotic thoughts weren't here in high school, but they are on the come. Now we got sports news, and Fair Dickerson and Texas Southern. Fair Dickerson leads 54-44, 10:04 second half. News came from the NFL today. We'll start with that. Juju Smith-Schuster, who became to another team. Yeah, I was sad about Juju Smith-Schuster leaving from the Chiefs. I thought he could become a Sammy Watkins of a 1-year prove-it deal. But in the end, it was all about money, and he took the best deal he could take. Do I blame him? No. But could he have won more Super Bowls and could he have became worth more next year? Maybe. But in the end, he decided to go with money, and could he have won another Super Bowl ring? Maybe. Smith-Schuster signs with the New England Patriots, a wide receiver, on a 3-year deal. $33 million. I'm sure the Chiefs were only offering him a 1-year deal or maybe a 2-year deal. He also earned $22 million of the first-year deal, and I guess it's probably a 2-year get out of it. But that would mean the Chiefs would pay upwards of $11 million. I was thinking the deal would be more towards $10 million. But $11 million, it makes sense. I mean, but the Chiefs probably didn't want to pay it, and they didn't want to overpay for a player, and they've never wanted to overplay for a player since they've won the Super Bowl. Pretty much since Patrick Mahomes became the star that he is. And what I say, smart teams don't do desperate things. Desperate teams do desperate things, and the Patriots are a desperate team without a great quarterback. Any other news on the NFL topic? Ezekiel Elliott, does he sign with anybody else? I don't know. Ezekiel Elliott's age now, though, is Cowboys for 7 seasons. He is 27 years old. I could see somebody signing to a 1-year prove-it deal. The Chiefs, probably not. just think he's probably too much money. But he might do okay in Chiefs uniform. I just think he's too much money. Sources say Panthers reached a deal with Miles Sanders, one of the best running backs last year in the game. They reached a 4-year deal. That's a long time to pay a running back. Miles Sanders 5, so you're playing into your 30s. That's exactly where it gets for the running back. You're playing to your at least 29. Panthers, although I didn't think the Panthers have a shot at being pretty good. Defensive tackle Carter from Georgia. He struggles in his pro day and got arrested earlier this year. And I think that's it on the sports news. Rodgers says he wants to play for the Jets. There's that news. Here we go, Aaron Rodgers. You rule the world with all the news. This is Sam Vaughn for Sam's Sports Report and Sam's Mental Health Day.